Greetings to fellow cyclists, especially greetings to those who read and support the crazyguyonabike.com website, where so many of us have learned so much and been so motivated to set off on bicycles to tour the world. As well, greetings to those who are Bike Friday owners, as am I and my wife. BikeFriday.com is a website full of information about the Bike Friday system, but also the Yak archives have provided a wealth of information for those of us who ride Bike Fridays. Now, one of the issues for any Bike Friday owner is the packing and transportation of their Bike Friday, which of course is a travel bicycle. It's the cold north here in this January 2009 period, and my wife and I have just returned from touring in a sunnier part south of us in the United States on our Bike Friday Tandem Traveler XL. I thought I'd take this opportunity to show how I have managed to learn an effective method of packing it into one Samsonite suitcase, plus additionally a soft duffel for some of the heavier pieces so that I can keep the Samsonite under 50 pounds. The Samsonite suitcase will accommodate especially the 4 large pieces of the Tandem. Now, my goal is to have those pieces nest without scratching each other, so I apply some protection, and I'll give you some illustrations, but you have to use common sense and prepare ahead of time your protection. I'm not applying in this demonstration all of the protection that I would apply if I were traveling with the bicycle. The first piece that goes in is the front fork and the handlebars and the front crank. And it lays in like this, with the fork to the left, the crank facing upward. You'll notice I've removed the front brake. That makes it much easier. I've prepared, using some cardboard, pieces which would protect. And so, for example, I would insert a piece like that, and the one on the other side. I would insert a fork spreader to make sure that it doesn't go anywhere. I would want the crank facing the corner here. These very sharp gears must be protected as well, and so I would attach some pieces of cardboard, and of course always useful is fiberglass strapping tape. It can't be cut, it cannot be torn, so you have to cut it ahead of time with a knife, but it's worth its weight in gold and is useful in so many ways. Now, I'd also protect these tubes, but for this demonstration I won't do that. Now, I just would point out that for those of us who carry the rear rack, once it's inserted into its felt protective case, the rear rack fits very nicely right under here, and this still nests very low and fits nicely. The next piece would be the rear section of the bike. I find it easier to have removed the derailleur and wrapped it in a plastic bag, and I would try to protect the tubes. I've attached one piece here of a rubberized matte material with some electrician's tape. I'd put on a second piece thusly, and I'd want to protect this area here from the chain rattling around it. So again, I would put on something that would protect that. I would use my strapping tape, which has temporarily disappeared, and I would tape this on. I have prepared ahead of time, again, some protection for the handlebar exposed metal ends. And now we would see that this piece here will allow the chainstay to go under this tube and nestle very low in the suitcase. This crank also goes up into the corner. This little area here will be for the cog set of the rear wheel. I'm going to insert the chain protector lower piece because I happen to know it's going to line up somewhere right down there. Then along comes the rear wheel. The nuts are removed, the cog set faces down. It nests right in there and is somewhat protected. So it's very important to have this rubberized material or something equivalent. I find that the handlebars float nicely on the left and on the right when I'm over on the side here. One of them goes here, and one of them will fit here. And the front wheel will slide under this section, and these will still be below the crush protector height. So finally, the front wheel. The front wheel slides right in like this. I have a drum brake, and I want the drum brake portion up. I've taken the nuts off both sides of the axle, and I've manufactured a little block of wood with a hole in it that is electrician taped on to be a second crush protector. But what you'll see in a moment here is that when this wheel is nestled in and the official crush protector is installed, that this is a good ½ inch below the crush protector, and these will also be positioned lower. We'll finish that in just a second. Those two nestle in. The front brake, which was removed, will nestle anywhere that I want. And now, with a bit of shifting, I can put my fenders here, and of course all of the tubes, which I would encase in their sleeves of nice felt. These tubes will insert in all sorts of different places quite easily, and it merely takes some careful, meticulous positioning to find that almost all of the tubes of the bike will slide in. And with that, I'm able to close the bike box, the suitcase. Now remember, I would have put in not all of the additional tubes, but most of them, and my weight would be under 50 pounds. I think it was about 47 pounds on this recent trip. And I have actually room to spare here. I could have laid a towel, some rags, some material there. In my second duffel, I take some of the heavier pieces. In my case, I still have the fit stem as my standard stem. It's an awfully heavy piece. I put it into a second duffel. The Stoker seat post is quite heavy. My SPDs are heavy, and my Stoker's saddle is a heavy one. Has a slight tear in it. My saddle is very, very light, and it probably would fit inside here just fine. But these are the kind of items that I put into a second bag, a soft duffel. I encase them in felt and protect them, and this goes along with all my nuts and bolts and my lights, my helmet, shoes, and this kind of thing. If I were taking the trailer with me, the trailer bars and the trailer wheels would also go into the separate duffel. So there you go. That's how I would pack my Tandem. It packs very well, and I've learned so much from many of you, and I hope for someone this perhaps is instructive. And to all of you, I say tailwinds.